Teens mock boy at Burger King, don't notice man on bench. We all know bullying huge problem all over the world. It's been happening before the word even existed. Teenagers sat down at the table. Boys were stumped and didn't know how to answer his question. Just playing, the teen repeated in a low voice. His demeanor had changed, and now he was standing with his head down, clearly uncomfortable. The man's words were having an effect. Don't you think your parents would love this? You guys getting arrested for picking on your classmate, the man asked them. You think they'd be proud of you? The older boy.
The guys from Pawn Stars always come across as calm and friendly no matter how rude a customer gets, but at the end of the day they are entrepreneurs and are not there to make friends. If you try to trick them or start making trouble, you probably won't be back in the store anytime soon. And in today's video we're gonna take a look at 6 customers who were banned from the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Things at the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop rarely get out of hand, but in October 2011, Daniel Callahan filed a lawsuit against Rick and the old man for physically assaulting him inside their shop. Callahan, a Vietnam veteran who walks with a cane, got into an argument with the father and son duo before they placed him, as he said, in a chokehold, dragged him through the store and threw him onto the sidewalk. Callahan claimed that he was injured in the incident, and his cane, as well as the rifle he had brought in for appraisal, were damaged. He was seeking $20,000 in the suit, but according to Corey, his father and grandfather can't really be blamed for throwing him out of the shop, as he became absolutely irate with a weapon in his hand. Understandably, Callahan was banned from the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop after the incident, but he probably wasn't planning on ever coming back to the shop anyway. One of the most memorable moments in Pawn Stars happened in the show's 2nd season, when a bald guy with a prominent mustache and a foreign accent called Raphael came to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop to sell a limited edition statue by French sculptor Émile Louis Picault from 1888. Although he kept saying that he didn't know anything about the piece, he had a pretty clear idea about how much he wanted for it, and got quite upset when Rick gave him his thoughts on the statue. If you're a fan of the show, you will probably remember Raphael, and if the situation hadn't been staged, we're pretty sure that he wouldn't be allowed to set foot in the Harrison's pawn shop again after this.
I have a bronze statue I'd like to sell.
Do you know much about it?
I don't know what to tell you about that.
This is a statue called Pegasus, and this is Perseus.
In the episode Flight of the Chum, Raphael came to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop with a bronze statue that he wanted to sell for about $6,000. He told Rick that he didn't know anything about it, and ever the teacher, the pawn shop owner, gave him a lesson, telling him that the statue showed Perseus and Pegasus, with Perseus wearing a helmet that made him invisible.
Perseus was the mythological figure that killed Medusa. Okay? And the helmet he's wearing right here made him invisible.
After Raphael stated that he didn't know what Rick was talking about, the Pawn Star fake laughed at a joke that we certainly missed, and then went on to inform
What? I let go and everything. That's some bullshit.
30s, who did a lot of mythological stuff, with the Perseus statue being his most famous work. After droning this out, Rick started taking a closer look at the statue. He pointed out that there were a few cracks that wouldn't be there if it was an original casting, and that this was probably a recast from 40 or 50 years earlier that was made long after Picault had died. He even found a coining that said "Made in USA" on the statue, which was more than enough proof for Rick that it wasn't an original made in 1888. However, the customer simply said that he didn't believe him and didn't care what Rick said. He stated that what you see and what you can prove is 2 different stories, and appeared to be getting pretty angry, even making security guard Antoine leave his position at the door.
I'm glad he didn't want to buy. This is his loss.
And for anyone who hadn't noticed the whole situation was staged yet, Rick's reaction to his customer telling him that he was full of something that needed to be beeped for television should have made it pretty clear at this point. Almost smiled and shook his head before his father stepped in and delivered his part, explaining that they never buy stuff when they're not sure about it and that the statue just wasn't for them. The guy eventually walked out of the shop with the statue, saying that it was Rick's loss and not his. Be that as it may, this interesting performance was surely a gain for anyone who loves reality television for all of its glorious drama and amateurish acting.
It's all right, Antoine. I got it. That's just what I see.
We might be wrong. We don't know.
Since people coming to a pawn shop are usually looking for some quick cash, there is always a risk of items actually being stolen goods, and despite their fame and expertise, the Harrisons are not safe from buying some stolen items either. In 2014, they made the headlines after a woman came to the pawn shop with a collection of pretty valuable gold coins and ended up with a pretty good deal that saw her getting a little over $12,000 for them. It later turned out that she had stolen the coins from her uncle, but it came even worse for the poor man. Not only had his niece robbed him of his coins, but he also had no chance of getting them back, since the Pawn Stars had decided to melt the coins down in order to make more money from selling the gold than they had initially spent on the coins. And if you think that this must have been the sad news for the uncle, then listen to this. The gold coin collection was actually worth about $50,000, as it contained rare coins like a 1903 Saint Gaudens $20 gold piece, silver Morgan coins from the 1880s, and contemporary 1-ounce American Buffalo gold pieces. So, not only did Nevada native David Walters get robbed, and will never see his coin collection again, but his niece didn't even only about a quarter of its worth before she was caught and served a sentence for theft. Needless to say, she also got a lifelong ban from the gold and silver pawn shop. As we mentioned earlier, buying stolen items is an ever-present risk for pawn shops, and when a sartorially dressed man came to the pawn shop and offered Rick a pair of diamond earrings of the finest quality one day, he naturally made further inquiries about how the seller obtained them. The man had all the right answers and could even produce a receipt, so they came to an agreement and Rick paid $40,000 for the jewelry. However, 3 days later the police came to the shop, and it turned out that the earrings had been stolen. The gold and silver pawn shop obviously gave them back to the owner and the thief was arrested, but the money was lost, and according to Rick, this was the biggest bust he had ever had in the pawn shop. It sometimes seems like the Pawn Stars are ripping off their customers, but they have actually been scammed by people coming into their shop a few times as well, and one guy who is probably not welcome in the pawn shop anymore is this one. As you might know, Rick is usually the one who warns everyone to never buy any items without getting them checked out, as well as authenticated by an expert first. But in the episode Corey's Big Play from Season 5, he did exactly the opposite when he bought something despite having doubts about its authenticity and no expert available to take a look at it. A guy named Bill had come to the shop and offered him a 19th century Wells Fargo strongbox with 2 antique prison ball and chain sets from the Yuma and Folsom prisons, looking to get around $2,000 for everything. These prisons are pretty notorious, with Yuma being the oldest prison in the state of Arizona, which opened in 1870, before Arizona even became a state, and Folsom being the second oldest prison in California, which opened in 1880 and later became one of the best-known prisons for concerts performed at the facility by musician Johnny Cash in the 1960s. Unfortunately, Rick had some concerns about the authenticity of the ball and chain sets, saying that the chains would have only been hot welded together during that time, while these ones were obviously electrically welded together. He also pointed out that the balls never had the prisons' names on them, since one manufacturer would always produce balls for different prisons.
What makes you an expert on this stuff?
I've been buying and selling this stuff my entire life. The manufacturers who made these things weren't going to change the die for every prison.
This was the moment that seller Bill started getting pretty defensive, which should have been another red flag for Rick after already identifying the ball and chain sets as fakes. But after Bill had assured him that the ball and chain sets hadn't come in the box originally, Rick decided to make an offer at the Wells Fargo Strongbox, thinking that it would be pretty easy to find a buyer for it, since there's a lot of Wells Fargo boxes in the old Hollywood westerns, making them pretty popular among collectors. While Bill was still hoping to get $1,200 for just the box, Rick only offered him $400 before they eventually agreed on $450. However, when Rick later called Mark the Beard of Knowledge Hall Patton to confirm the box was real, his hopes of making at least a little profit were shattered.
Damn it.
When Mark
I think he's got
called
Pop Goes the
fantasy
Weasel.
piece, telling Rick that it was actually one of
Definitely.
the most faked items altogether.
I almost had that shit pop.
Admittedly, these following people were not exactly customers at the Harrison's pawn shop, but after what they did, they will most definitely never become customers in their pawn shop either. At the beginning of each episode of Pawn Stars, Rick reminds us that you never know what's going to come through that door, and on March 23rd, 2016, he was proven all the more right when a group of masked intruders entered the Gold and Silver pawn shop with shotguns and pistols. The Pawn Star stated, "We are a heavily armed store, and the doors are usually locked. We've actually never been robbed the entire time we've been here, but the History Channel show has given us a lot more notoriety, so we're a bigger target." So after nearly 30 years in the business, the Harrison shop was robbed for the very first time, and according to Rick, the thieves stole over $250,000
You're a
in cash and
bitch.
merchandise, mostly sports memorabilia and coins. Following the robbery, the pawn shop had to close for a few weeks to sort everything out, while the show was luckily on a break anyway at the time. And just like we're used to hearing him say on the show, Rick then also said, "Thankfully, I got a buddy of mine who knows a thing or two about property insurance, so I gave him a call and he's coming down to help out."
Fucking lag. Yeah, let me get them points, bro. Oh shit.
Okay, that's gonna be Joker. He's supposed to be a mid-sized Chevy, he said.
Here comes another
Oh, no.
suspect who will also try to play this as a big misunderstanding.
Alright, I gotta go.
33-year-old Ernest Timmick is a mechanic for the United States Air Force. Calling himself Joker 34, he's been chatting online about having sex with a girl who tells him she's 13. What do you want me to do?
Oh, fuck.
Whatever you want. But I thought you wanted the real thing. Maybe you're just thinking with my head.
No, I want the real thing. I'm scared to get caught with a minor.
Then don't tell anyone.
Then the military man asks the decoy for a photo of her breasts. Do you have
Wow.
a picture of your boobies I could see? Please?
I don't have my camera. You could bring one.
To do what?
I don't know.
And here he comes. Camera at the ready. Online, he told the
Ooh,
decoy that he
that
wouldn't
shows
be able to
major
stay for
intent.
long.
Glad you can make it.
No idle chit-chat for this man. He wastes no time making it clear he wants to get busy.
Come sit down. I made some brownies. Want some? Are you sure?
Yeah, can we just go upstairs for a little bit?
Oh, let's just hang in here for a little bit. Why don't you sit down?
Okay, wait, I need
Just
to get
sit
going.
down. It'll be fine. Yeah. His eyes were bugging out of his head, so I knew he was either gonna do something really quick or he was just gonna take off. But weren't you gonna bring me lotion or anything?
Oh, no, I don't have any.
Oh, because I thought you were gonna teach me some stuff. That's all.
Yeah, is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah, actually, everything is just fine, but I need you to have a seat right there.
What a bitch.
Just have a seat.
I guess it is it.
Now
End of
watch
the.
how fast his story changes. From a man appearing eager to take photos of our decoy, mere victim of circumstance.
Sir, my friend told me to come here to bring the camera and...
Your friend told you to come.
Yes, sir.
Fuck.
A guy named Kevin.
Kevin. What's Kevin's name?
I don't
Bitch.
know.
How long have you known this friend?
We just met on the base.
So you're gonna come in, and you have your
Yeah, I
camera
bet.
ready, and you say to the girl who you think is 13, or your friend thinks is 13.
I
that
don't
you want to
know,
run up.
sir.
You want to run upstairs because you only have a little bit of time. Do you see why this does not make sense?